What percentage of your workforce deals with compliance to ensure, as you said, that our laws must be respected?
Well, we have a significant piece of
What percentage, please?
Our organization.
Exactly. If you are the head of the organization, you cannot say it. That's shocking.
Well, I can say.
Please give us that number.
If you weren't going to cut me off. Yeah.
Another round. Watch Give Send Go. Give and send it right back again to some government officials. One government official also indicates that her faith is different than Give Send Go. Here is some weird questioning by some liberals. Here's the clip.
Express yourself through colleagues before it's all over. Mr. Zuberi, you have the floor, and you have 5 minutes.
I'd like to thank the witnesses from Give Send Go for being here and for taking the time. I found it, just to preface my comments, I found it interesting that you didn't have any opening remarks, substantive opening remarks, similar to the other witnesses who came here from GoFundMe and from PayPal and from Stripe. Each have 5 minutes, and you did also, and we weren't able to benefit from prepared remarks from you. I found that really interesting. That being said, I would like to get to an article that was published by The Guardian on April 10th around the data breach. And it said that, that your organization has been involved in supporting fundraising efforts for the Proud Boys. Are you aware that the Proud Boys is a listed terror organization in Canada? I'm not sure if the witnesses heard that question. Chair, my time's still running. There are no responses.
Yeah.
Ms. Wilson, you're welcome to comment. Are you aware that Proud Boys is a terror group in Canada?
We are at this time. We are.
At this time. So when were you aware that Proud Boys is a terrorist organization? For us,
actually, when did you label them as a terrorist organization? I'm not sure.
In 2019, so it's been quite a while. So we appreciate that you now are aware that Proud Boys is a terror group in Canada. My understanding is that your organization helped support $375,000 of crowdfunding for at least 11 members of Proud Boys. Is that accurate?
That sounds about right, that we did have some members of the Proud Boys raise funds on Give Send Go.
Thank you for confirming that. In terms of what happened with respect to the convoy here in Canada, the Government of Ontario did freeze, as a result of Government of Ontario's actions, $8 million was frozen that you were facilitating. Are you were certainly aware of that, weren't you?
We had heard that there was an emergency act put in place to freeze convoy funds.
How did you hear about that?
On media.
Media, great. So you heard about it through the media. Were you monitoring what was happening with respect to the convoy and the lawlessness around it?
You can call it law. Okay. Yes, we saw what was unfolding on both sides of the narrative.
Were you aware that states of emergency were called around the convoy, in particular on February 6th, that Ottawa called a state of emergency, the city of Ottawa? We
did see that on the news.
Aware that the Emergencies Act was brought into effect on the 15th of February. Are you aware of that?
We did see that on media.
So at what point did you stop supporting crowdfunding for the convoy?
We never supported it. We allowed the Canadians and people around the world that wanted to support it. So we never supported the convoy. We allowed them a platform to have a voice, to do what they felt was important, which was to go to the Capitol and have a word about mandates that were going on.
Thank you.
And if somebody had wanted to do an anti-protest, we would have allowed it as well.
Thank you. So with respect, on the record, we know City of Ottawa, February 6th, state of emergency. The Government of Canada, as of February 15th, introduces the Emergency Act where it has effect, and you ignore it. Do you believe that you should be respecting the laws of Canada as you do operations that touch upon this country?
Well, I can answer that. Yeah, we completely respect those laws in relation to the citizens that they affect, which is Canadians. And
Certainly. So thank you for acknowledging that those laws must be respected. We heard from GoFundMe that 20% of their workforce actually deals with compliance. What percentage of your workforce deals with compliance to ensure, as you said, that our laws must be respected?
Well, we have a significant piece of
What percentage, please?
our organization.
Exactly. If you are the head of the organization, you cannot say it. That's shocking.
Well, I can say.
Please
if
give
you
us
would-
that number.
If you weren't going to cut me off. Yeah. So approximately the same percentage that GoFundMe has, we use for KYC and for verification of campaigns and the legitimacy
close
of
up
the
in 5
campaign
seconds,
and the
please.
organizers.
Thank you. So we heard approximately, I'll underscore approximately 20%.
Thank you very much. The segment is done. Let's now move to Ms. Michaud. We're running out of time here. We're going to have to go a few minutes over. Okay, the last slot of this morning, Ms. Demoff, belongs to you. Take it away. You've got 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to our witnesses that they're not familiar with Canadian jurisdiction of our different levels of government. But until the Emergencies Act was put in place, the federal government did not have jurisdiction. It was actually under provincial jurisdiction, and the Ottawa Police Service was the agency of jurisdiction. We know the Ontario courts froze your accounts. I'm just wondering, did you have contact from the Ontario Solicitor General's office? Maybe someone who's not frozen. Can we freeze my time if he's frozen?
Yes, no, we did not have any contact with anybody.
So the Ontario government did not reach out to you either when they froze your funds? So how did you find out from the Ontario court that your funds were frozen?
Social media and mainstream news. And the funds are in a U.S. bank, and so they're not necessarily frozen. They cannot get to the recipient on the ground in Canada at this moment. But
so you were pretty clear that you thought the federal government and the Prime Minister should have been reaching out to you, but with all due respect, until the Emergencies Act was put in place, we had no jurisdiction to contact you. And once the Emergency Act was put in place and we had jurisdiction, your money was not your money, my apologies, the crowdfunding funds that you were holding were already frozen. So there was no reason for the federal government to be reaching out to you. So I have another question for you, though, following up. Well, that's just the facts. It's just the facts. You may not agree with them, but the fact is we were not the government of jurisdiction until the Emergencies Act was enacted on February the 14th. I'm really
so you did nothing. So you don't take any responsibility in this. Is what
I'm
you're saying.
sorry. We don't take. We enacted the Emergencies Act, ma'am, for the first time since that legislation was introduced. So we certainly did have a role. We took the occupation extremely seriously as a threat to Canadians. It was a public safety threat, and that's why we invoked the Emergency Act. So we absolutely took it seriously. I have extreme concerns, though, with the comments that you were making to my colleague about the Proud Boys. We listed them as a terrorist entity in 2019. The United States has not done that. You continue to fundraise for them. You continue to fundraise for groups that promote Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, Nazi sympathizers, white supremacists. I'm just wondering how you can justify giving people like that a platform to raise funds.
That's a great question. If we started mandating litmus tests for how good people ought to be in order to use public services, we would be in a very, very difficult situation very
Would you
quickly.
allow a fundraiser from the Ku
problem
Klux
is
Klan,
much-
sir? Would you allow a fundraiser on your platform from the Ku Klux Klan?
If the fundraising activity was legal and it was legally authorized to have happen, we would allow people to fundraise.
So the
for
Proud
things
Boys
that
will
are
still
legal.
be able
So
to fundraise on your platform, and you would not have a problem fundraising for the Ku Klux Klan, is what you're saying.
if just be clear, if individuals or organizations that are legally authorized to receive payments and go through the KYC checks and the AML checks that everyone is required to and have been done through our platform, and if they pass all of those measures and what they're fundraising for is legal, then yes, we will allow them to fundraise. And in the same moment, we will share
Hate
our hope
provisions
with
in
them,
your terms
which
of
is-
service? Do you not have anti-hate provisions in your terms of service? Because the groups that we're talking about are hate groups. Groups that
Yes,
promote
those-
Islamophobia, groups like the Proud Boys, groups like the Ku Klux Klan have no place in our society. I'm sorry. All this mumbo-jumbo
Yeah.
about legal, do you not have anti-hate provisions in your terms of service?
What we have, you can read our terms of service. They're very clear. They're right there on our website. We have plenty of terms in there that guide how we operate as a business, as an organization. We believe completely to the core of our being that the danger of the suppression of speech is much more dangerous than the speech itself. And this has been attested through history.
Sorry, my time is up, but
It's
I'm
been
just going to
attested-
say my brand of Christianity is very different from yours if it includes hate.
Thank you very much, everybody. This has been an intense, dynamic couple of hours. I want to thank